This week, I was testing a new platform called Phase, and their banner really stood out to me. The way that on scroll, it goes from being boxed to full width and blends into the rest of the web page. Well, I thought it was dope, so I went ahead and created something very similar inside of Elementor, and I'm going to show you how to do the same in this video. And what's great about this is no custom code is needed. We're just going to be using Elementor's built-in motion effects. This is going to be great for anyone wanting to do something extra for your banners, making it more interactive and to better grab attention. All right, let's check it out. The first step is building the banner. We need to build it so that way we could create that boxed effect around it. I did create a detailed video on this showing how we could create a banner like Aura Ring here, and I'll put a link to it at the top somewhere up over here. But a quick overview of this is taking a look at the structure. Here is our banner. First, we got our outer container, and then we have an inner container, and then we are putting the content inside of that inner container. By going to our outer container, then we are able to add padding. I'm just going to put 24 pixels, so now I got 24 pixels all around. We don't need it at the top, so let me undo the top. And now we got that border effect. Next, we need to make sure that our banner flows into the first section. And we're going to do this by matching the background of the first section with the very bottom of your banner. To do this, go to the inner wrapper in your banner, go to your style, down to background overlay, and make sure you have it set on gradient. On the top color, you could give it some opacity, however much that you need to see some of the background. But on the second color, you got to make sure it's the same exact color as your first section and that you do have it to 100% opacity. And on your opacity right here, have it set to 1, which is really 100%. Now, really quickly, if you notice in our outer container, we're not doing anything but adding this padding. We're not going to put our border radius. We're not really doing much. We only have one more step in this outer container coming up later. The work, though, for styling your banner, including adding the padding for that's going on the inside, also adding your background image, that's all going to happen inside of the inner container. Now, I'm going to finish up the styling in my inner wrapper or my inner container. I'm going to go here to border and let me put in 24 pixels border radius. Now we can see the curves making it look more like a card. You're going to want to spend time to get this banner just right. You're going to want to build it all out. The layout could completely change however you like. What we're going to be doing though is making sure that you at least have this minimum height set up right. I'm going to put it at 91 VH, but we are going to come back and adjust this after we start applying the effects. So now next step, let's go ahead and start our effects. We're going to be applying the effect to our outer container, the one that's wrapping everything. Over to advanced and then down to motion effects. We're going to be using the scale. So go ahead and click it on, open the scale, and let's take it to just 1 for right now. And already on scroll, we can see that it is growing and this is a good start, but we're going to need to make some adjustments and we're going to have to fine tune everything. Okay, so first off, we can see it's not expanding all the way out. We want it to grow and fit into this bottom section so that way it becomes like one section as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and scroll this up about halfway. I want to try to get it there about this range. I'm going to put 1.5. Okay, 1.5 looks a lot better. Now it's starting to move up. I might even want to try 2. Okay, 2 looks okay as well. Let's try adjusting our viewport right here. Okay, if we move this up, then it is going to require us scrolling higher to make the transition. I don't want that. So let's take this back down to 20 and then we could adjust this going down. Okay, now this is looking a lot better. Let me take it to 70 and see what we get. Okay, we're getting close, but we need to continue to adjust because now we could see that the gap here has closed in. We don't want that. We want to make sure we have that full even gap on the sides and bottom. This is where we're going to adjust the speed. I'm going to take this back down to 1.5, maybe even 1. You can see at 1, we have the even gap. Let's see how that looks. Okay, it's going better, but I feel like we could be doing more. So let's take this down. Let's take this up. And let's keep adjusting it. I'm going to take it up to 40 and I'll take this down to 50. And let's see what we are getting. Okay, so no actual scrolling is happening until way later. Let's take this to a 1.5 and let's keep it right around here where we want to start to see the scroll, and adjusting this until it's just about to begin. Okay, right around there when it hits 27, it starts to go in. We start off with even spacing on the sides and on the bottom. And by the time we scroll halfway, it now blends into it. So we got that blending, but here's where we need to start making more adjustments. Let's take a look at the front end, because what we see here in the back end, well, the front end is going to look a little bit different. Okay, this looks good. Notice down here, okay, I could kind of see maybe about 4 pixels of the bottom section. We don't want to see any of that bottom section, really. You could get away with maybe 2 or 3 because it's not really noticeable, but if we look in our back end, well, there's a considerable amount. We want to try to hide all of that. And this is where we could come in and play. Let me go back to our inner wrapper, our inner container. We could play with our VH. Maybe we could take it up by 1. Let's publish this and take a look again in the front end. And there it goes. Now we push that down out of sight and we got that effect. Now, I did this kind of quickly, but I just want to give you a heads up. When you are doing this, keep in mind if you were to change your font sizes, your spacing, or if you were to add different elements of different sizes, you'll need to go back in and adjust your settings. But when you do, it's going to come out looking dope like this. Now, there's one other thing I want to do, and that is adding a growing effect to the image here. That way we get a simultaneous scrolling effect that looks pretty dope. In this case, I'm just going to geek out right now. Now, to do that, I'm going to go to my image. I'm going to go down here to advance, and then I'm going to do the same thing, motion effects. Let me turn off mobile. I didn't mention that before. I would just stick to desktop though for this effect personally, because I feel that you're going to get the most out of it on a desktop. All right, let's go back over here to scale. And then the same thing, I'm just going to turn it up to 1. And let's scroll up a little bit. Here is where I want it to start to grow, because you can see as we scroll at this point, the background grows, so we want it to be simultaneous. Let's go and play with our viewport here. I'll move this one down. There we go. Right around here is when it starts to grow. I can move this one up a little bit as well. I'm going to leave this at about 30 and then make adjustments. But there's a couple things that I want to point out for better design practices. All right, let's open this up. If you take a look at the top, we have an even line right here with our content. And we always want to have that margin, that even line going all the way down on our left-hand side for a clean structure. I want to have the image to be flushed with this line. And then for the final testing, check it out in the front end, see how we are looking. It's looking pretty good. In fact, I probably would decrease this just by a little bit. I might take it down just by 1 decimal because I really want that flush line. This is where we need to be pixel perfect, and you have to experiment. It's going to take you a little bit of time, but make sure you get those little tiny details right. And by doing this very subtly, not by adding too much or making things move too much, you want to be very subtle. You're going to give a clean interaction. It's going to look more polished, but be very careful when doing this not to overdo it. You don't want to add all kinds of things moving all over the place, because it is really easy to mess things up and give a bad user experience instead of something that is more micro, something that is more very intentional. Well, that's it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I hope you're able to have fun with this one. I kind of feel that motion effects are an overlooked feature inside of Elementor. When done properly, we could do all kinds of cool things on our websites. And my question for you now is, how can you see using this effect on your website? Also, would you like to see more tutorials like this with more interactivity? I have a lot of ideas and I'd be happy to create more. Drop it inside of the comments and let me know your thoughts. I love to hear from you. And also, if you have any questions, drop those in the comments as well. And if you did find value in this video, then don't forget that good YouTube stuff. You know the deal. Like and subscribe. I really do appreciate the support. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.